I've been wanting to do this video for so long. It was actually the first YouTube video I wanted to start with, and the others just seemed like it just felt right. But it was this video that I really wanted to start my YouTube channel with. And I feel like I should preface this video because this will not be the video where you're mollycoddled or, you know, you want to self-soothe. I'm very much a tough love, there are people that have it worse than you type of girl. So if you're not ready to hear that, or you're not in a space to hear that, I would say to maybe just put this on the back burner and come back when you feel as though you are ready to watch a video like this, because I'm going to be very like straight down the middle through the noise. And I guess I'm starting like that because when you reach your 30s, you do have to kind of cut the BS. You know, there's no more time for games. You really do look at your life and think, oh my god, shit, like what am I doing? And maybe you've just left your job, or you have just left a relationship, or you moved back in with your parents and you can't believe you're doing that at this age. You know, I think in your 30s, you're kind of a bit tougher on yourself, and you kind of make these decisions where you think to yourself, oh my god, what's going on? And I just want to reassure you, first of all, before you really get into it, that you are not behind, like you're not late. And we'll speak about that, but you're not late. Do not panic. You still have so much time for things to change, which kind of leads me into my first subject. You have time, but you don't have as much time as you think. And what I mean by that is, I keep seeing, sorry, I've just, you know, when you do your makeup absolutely perfect and then all of a sudden there's like something that needs to be corrected, so it needs to be corrected. I keep seeing these videos by Gary V, who I've learned a lot from him, but he keeps telling everybody that you're so young, you've got all this time, and you have got time, but you don't have as much time as you actually think. And what I would hate for you to do is see videos like him and think to yourself, okay, I'm 38 and I have got a lot of time. Success loves speed. Now, I'm not saying you need to panic and rush and you need to think, oh my god, like now I don't have enough time, I don't really know what I'm doing. But you do need to pick up some sort of momentum. We don't have the luxury of when we was in our 20s anymore to just continue making mistakes. You will always make mistakes. However, in your 30s, you should be making better mistakes that aren't so crucial and detrimental to your success. It's knowing how to move fast without completely burning yourself out. And this doesn't mean that you have to know exactly what you want to do, because half the time you don't really know what you want to do. But use this time to really experiment. Throw a lot of things at the wall. So I tell my clients in the academy, throw things at the wall and then eventually something will stick. It has to. Just even on a logical scale, if you keep throwing things at the wall, eventually something has to stick. But I find a lot of women these days are very, very scared to even try. You have to be able to try. If you're starting again in your 30s, this is the best time to really start experimenting. Robert Greene said something about your mid-30s are the best time to be creative and to come up with a great idea. So if you're in your mid-30s, now the best time more than ever. Your comfort zone will not pay your bills. It won't fund your dreams. You have to get out there. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be awkward. You have to be ready for people to say your shit. You have to be okay with it being messy. In your 20s, you can play small. You can dilute yourself. You can do the people pleasing. You can overthink. You have time to figure out those parts of yourself. In your 30s, I find you need to decide which of these aspects of yourself are holding you back and then overcome it. Mine was always speaking to the camera. It held me back for years. I was able to then pinpoint, okay, this is what I need to do to start moving. So I can't be 36 anymore, now 37, but I can't be, at the time when I started speaking to the camera, I was 36. But at the time I was thinking, I can't be 36 still worrying about, oh my God, like what are they going to think when I show up on camera? I'm just never going to show up on camera. But the most important thing is that when you decide what that thing is, you need to act immediately. Don't go on the internet and hear, oh my God, you know, you're so young. Yes, you are young in terms on a bigger scale, but in terms of living out your dreams, you need to get on that right now. And what made me move faster was I thought to myself, yes, I have got a lot of time being age 37, but I don't want to enjoy the fruits of my labor at age 60 and 70. I want to enjoy them in my 40s, which means I've got like 3 years to get a move on. So it also depends, only you know what you want to do with your life. If you want to enjoy most of it near the end, or right now, or in the middle. I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor in my 40s, which means I'm 37 now. I can't sit back and do nothing. So yes, you do have a lot of time, but it really does depend on what you do with that time. Number two, I would say, is that you have to sacrifice your old self. If you want to start again, you cannot start from the same square that you just left. You can't leave square one and then go back to square one. You have to completely say goodbye to that old version of yourself that you identified with, that made you want to change in the first place. That means you might have to stay in on the weekends to build your business. You might have to go out alone to meet new people. You might have to swap Netflix binges for content planning. You might have to let go of comfort foods. It's these sacrifices that will get you to where you want to go. So if you want to become this version that you can't stop thinking about it, you might have to live some of your life doing things that you don't want to do. Remember, you're not losing your freedom, you're building a life that gives you more of it. That old version of you, bless her, she's as sweet as she is, she's the one that got you to the point where you want to change your life, and she's not going to be the one who's going to take you to where you want to go. The next thing I want to talk about is you have an advantage at age 30 over anyone else, because this is a very underrated decade. You have enough wisdom and experience from your past to know what you do want. So you've had the shitty boyfriend, you've had the fake friends, you've had the disagreements with family members, you've lost a job, you've gotten another job, you've got so much experience behind you. Use that to fuel what it is that you want. So when you start again in your 30s, you're old enough to know better, but you still have that amount of time. So use your experiences that you've had. If you've had bad relationships, look at those relationships and say, right, this is what I don't want anymore. This is what I'm not entertaining anymore. I want this type of person, this type of person, this type of person, and then focus on those type of people, attracting those type of people into your life. Only give your attention to people who are aligned with, funny enough, this is leading directly into my next point, but basically align yourself, use your experiences from the past to help you align with what you want in the future, which is leading to my final point. Only focus on what aligns with the future that you're building. So this will require a lot of discipline. So it's very easy to wake up and say, oh my God, I need to start again. I want to change. I want to burn everything down and rebuild. But you have to keep disciplined. You have to keep showing up for yourself. You have to keep the promises that you make to yourself. You don't need to be doing everything. You just need to be doing something. So ask yourself questions like, what would the best version of me do in this situation? How would she respond to this situation? How would she show up for herself? The fittest version of me, what would her exercise routine look like? The healthiest version of me, what would her morning breakfast look like? What would she snack on? And that doesn't mean that you can't have chocolate, but just operate from the version of yourself that you want to be, because she thinks completely differently to how you think right now. So you really need to get into her head. I would even visualize having a conversation with her and ask her questions. We have these things where we talk to ourselves all the time. We're like this to each other. From the morning, night, we talk to ourselves like this, but we never seem to talk to our future version. Ask her what it is she requires from you to start making these changes. How does she speak? How does she show up? How does she think? How does she act? How does she respond to challenges? How does she respond to obstacles? Does she panic about them, or does she think to herself, oh, it's nothing because I can overcome everything? Oh, I'm not bothered about that. That's fine. I've always been able to overcome things. That's who I am. I always come out on top, because the woman who always thinks she comes out on top always comes out on top. Ask yourself, what would she tolerate? Would she still be ignoring the red flags, or is she done with that? Because your 30s isn't the time to be experimenting with low standards. This is where you need to start implementing boundaries, high standards, and sticking to them. Keeping the bar up here and then making people come up so they can meet it and meet you where you are. Not you coming down and staying back at square one where you've always been, because it's getting you nowhere. And if you're starting again in your 30s, you need to be starting from the middle. We cannot go back there anymore. Point two, sacrificing your old self. You need to give her up completely. So be intentional about your time, your energy, your inputs, your circle, who you hang around with. Be sharp, be focused, not in a boring way. This isn't like regimental discipline. It's more being conscious of the things that you're doing, the decisions that you're making throughout the day. So for me, if you're starting again in your 30s, I feel like you have the best chance of winning. I started in my 30s. I started Coffee Moon when I was 33. I had been a stylist. I was still doing Kitaka, my beauty brand, which I spoke about in the previous video, which I'll tag here. You can go and watch that if you're building a business. But I started again in my 30s, And I've had a great time because I looked back on all the mistakes I made in my 20s and I was able to rectify them. So you do have time if you're planning to rectify them and if you're planning to learn from the mistakes that you made before. If you want to go deeper into all of this, how to rebuild your confidence, upgrade your routine, shift your identity, then you must check out my free masterclass. I'll leave a link in the description. It will completely change the way you show up for yourself. And if you're new here, I post a video every single week about confidence, identity, lifestyle. Sometimes we keep it fun. We do like fashion stuff. So hit the subscribe button. And if you are in your 30s and you're starting again, let me know in the comments what you're starting with. I have your back completely, especially as somebody who has done it. And I'll see you in the next video.